Hi everybody, this is Mrs. McQuestion, and today we're going to do a lesson about point of view. And I put some eyes on this slide because when we are talking about point of view, it's the way that we are seeing the story. Sometimes we see the story through a character's eyes, and sometimes we see it through a narrator's eyes who is not in the story. So we're going to learn a little bit about that today. What is point of view in a story? What we need to know is who is the person telling this story. There are different points of view, and this week we're going to learn about first person point of view and third person point of view. And in each of those, we have a narrator. So the narrator will be our person telling the story. We just need to figure out if they are telling us the story from first person or third person. And so when we realize what the point of view is, it helps us understand the story a little bit better and have more feeling when we read it. So we'll go over first person first, and then next we will talk about what we do to know if it's third person. And so we'll do some examples in a minute. I just wanted to show you what the differences are before we look at our example. But when we read something and it's in first person point of view, the narrator who is speaking to us in the story uses the pronouns I or we. You can see some more down here. Sometimes they use the word my, me, mine, we, our, and us. Most of the time you will see I, my, and we. So those are what we'll focus on today. And they are participating in the story. So they are not outside the story. They are a character inside the story. They are someone who is taking part of the story, but they are also telling the story. And then when they're speaking to us in first person, they're describing what they think and how they feel from their perspective in the story. And then this is for third person point of view. It's a little bit different than first person because our narrator is not participating in the story. They are somebody, usually we don't know who it is. We don't know who is telling the story, but they are narrating it for us. Usually they say these pronouns: he, she, it, and they. We can also call them clue words. I like how this chart over here says they are clue words because when we read, we are kind of like detectives when we are figuring out if it's first person or third person point of view. You have to look at your clue words to help you decide. And then over here, sometimes this is a good clue for us is they will use the characters' names. And we will look at some examples to help figure out what that means. These might look familiar to you because we read these stories last week and we were kind of introducing point of view and trying to decide, trying to learn a little bit about it with these stories. I just wanted to make sure we fully understand point of view before we move on to something new. And so I just put first person and third person and told you which story is which. And so when we read the true story of the Three Little Pigs, let's read a quote from that book so we can decide if it is in first person or third person. And I highlighted some clue words to help you. That's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed and I snuffed. And so the blue words that you see here are some of the clue words we can see and figure out, is it in first person or third person? So is the character inside the story the narrator, or is the narrator outside and he's telling the story? I noticed the word my, and I noticed that the narrator says the word I quite a few times. And if you remember when we read this, the wolf is the person telling the story. He's also inside the story, so guess what that tells us? It is written in first person. Oops, we'll go back. And our second example was the Three Little Pigs story. And let me read you the quote that I found. It was the big bad wolf. Oh, right there. That's a character's name that the narrator is saying. He was even hungrier now. And you can see my clue word I highlighted in blue to tell me, oh, we use the word he. So let's check. Oh, he is one of our clue words for third person. The narrator also used a character's name when he said the big bad wolf. So this story is in third person point of view. All right, here are some examples. We need to figure out, I didn't tell us beforehand, if this is first person or third person. So this is a little quiz for us to see if we remember the clues that we learned about and how to figure it out. So let's read it, and then we'll go back and look for some clues. It's called School Carnival. Rico's class went to the school carnival today. It was a lot of fun. Rico won 2 prizes. He won a blue balloon and a toy car. He had a great time with all of his friends. First, he played a few games. Then, he got popcorn and lemonade with his friends. Finally, he got to watch a magic show. Rico couldn't wait to get home and tell his parents all about his fun day. So the first thing I noticed was at the beginning of this sentence and this sentence, and all the way down here, we see the name Rico. Rico is the main character in our story, and I wasn't seeing that he was telling the story to us. Somebody outside the story was telling the story, so that was an outside narrator. Another few clues I noticed was this word right here, the word he. Again, I see the word he and his. He again, his, and his are a few times down here. I'm going to go back a couple slides and let's look. Let's look at first person. Did we see this word I or we? Nope, we didn't see those words. And we know that Rico was not telling the story. But if we look at third person, we did see the word he. We saw this word a bunch of times, and the narrator was not inside of our story. So he was telling the story by looking in, and he used Rico's name a few times. So I'm deciding that this story was written in third person point of view. Let's look at our next example, and we're going to decide if it was written in first person or third person point of view. It is called Mystery Jelly. I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. My mom packs one for my school lunch every day. When she goes to the store, she buys many different kinds of jelly. I have had strawberry jelly, grape jelly, even blueberry jelly. Raspberry jelly is my favorite. Today, I opened up my lunchbox and found my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I took a big bite. I tasted something different. Peanut butter, check. Bread? Check. But then I tasted a sprinkle, something creamy and crunchy pieces that taste like a cookie. There's chocolate flavors and vanilla. I noticed my sandwich is freezing cold. What did my mom put on, or what kind of jelly did my mom put on my sandwich? I wonder if you guys know what the mom put on the sandwich. I think I have an idea. Especially with this clue, freezing cold. Ooh, that might taste yummy. All right, but our job today is to figure out what the story is written in, first or third person. We can start it back at the beginning and look for some clues. We have to think, okay, do I see the words he, she, or they? Or am I seeing the words I, me, or my? I'm going to start right here at the beginning. I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So this word I is important. That's a clue word for us. My is another important word. Another word I. Another one. Another one. One down here. And one down here. And then the word my again. And my again down here. And so we know that this person is directly telling us the story and what is happening to them, because they're talking about the sandwich they were eating at lunchtime. So it's not a stranger looking down telling the story, saying Judy was eating a sandwich. This person is saying I was eating my sandwich. So let's go back and look at our charts really quick. So we didn't see the word he, she, or it, or they. And we know that the person is in the story, so it can't be third person. Let's go back and check our clues and see if it matches with first person. All right, so we saw this word a bunch of times. We saw the word I and the word my, because they are talking about my sandwich. The narrator was a character in the story, and they're describing their thoughts and feelings. And so, in my opinion, this was written in first person. These clues help us to figure that out. Our words I and my. So that's what I have for you today. And what I want you to do when you're working on your work this week, you are able to watch the stories that we're learning about. And in those stories, you will hear some of the clue words. So you will hear he, she, or they for third person, or you'll hear the words I, me, and my for first person. And you have to figure out, was this story written in first or third person, and tell me why. When I'm asking for, or when your teacher's asking you a reason why, a good thing you could say is, I noticed some clue words, and the clue words I noticed were he, she, and they. Or if it's in first person, I noticed that the narrator is a character in the story, and they were using words like I, me, and my. That's a great way to explain your thoughts, is that you searched for some clue words and what you found helped you figure that out. Good job, and we will have some great stories to listen to this week. Bye!